I just wanted to properly introduce Yasmin for coming. She's one of two. But Whitney is not here today. We're talking to Yasmin from Jems, and we were just on a really fun conversation about where the business is at. And like, I was just I knew we've been like in each other's space for the past few years, but I literally just popped online to just see like at retail locations. And I was like, that number's live. I'm like, is that 300? I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah,
It's
no,
incredible.
yeah, exactly. So thank you. It's been a really exciting year for us. We just launched and with Empire Brands, which is Sobeys, Safeway, Lawton's, Freshco.
Okay.
So
Powerhouse.
that added actually another whole over 300 stores to our store count. So it actually we're 600 now across
Wow.
Canada, and we've got really good representation in Ontario, Quebec, BC, and as well now the East Coast because of some of this expansion as well. So it's really
Incredible.
exciting to gain that critical mass in
Yeah.
Canada, and sort of our aim has always been to be available everywhere because it's the type of product where you can't really go deep with just one retailer. You kind of have to be everywhere
Right.
where where
Yeah.
you
It's
want to
like all or
find
nothing kind
condoms.
of.
Exactly.
It's like a household basic.
So my background is in design and
Yeah.
communications. That's what I studied after university, and that was sort of where I started my career. And Whitney and I have been working together for about 15 years. She also pursued design. We were both at McGill, but we both ended up in design, which at the time wasn't necessarily a path many people were taking.
And what does that mean to be in design? Like, that's a very
Yeah,
vague
it
word. And like, are we talking designing
100%.
what?
So, yeah, so I studied graphic design, communication
Okay. Fair. Yeah.
design. She did a master's in communication. So
Okay.
she focused on this idea of how do you create marketing campaigns that can change ideas. So an anti-smoking campaign, for
Mm,
instance, it's about
mm.
changing mindset,
Yep.
not necessarily buying a product.
Okay.
And our paths crossed in New York. We were both living there, pursuing our careers,
Okay.
and we felt like we had sort of a different perspective. At the time, we couldn't quite put our finger on what that meant. And I think what I now understand is there were very few female founded and led design studios. So I think that was kind of what we were trying to
Mhm.
bring to the world as a little bit of an alternative to what was existing in the market. And so we started taking on projects together, and it grew very organically and very well, and we got a lot of long-term big clients both in New York and then in Toronto. We ended up
Wow.
moving the business back to Toronto. We are still working with some of those clients, which is amazing,
That's
like
so cool
15
to
years
have that touch
later.
point still in New
Yeah.
York. Yeah.
So, so that was sort of our background. We've always been, we call ourselves consumer packaged good nerds. We would go to different aisles and kind of study how different industries were evolving and how design and communication in particular played a role in that. And
Yeah.
so vitamins was one where I remember being, shocked that Jameson had such a chokehold. I said,
Mm-hmm.
why?
Mm-hmm.
They have a like almost cartoonish, like little graphic
That
and like
orange, what is
vitamin
that?
C.
Yeah, that's all I think of. Yeah.
And I thought, this is such an untapped opportunity to cater to more segmented demographics
Right.
and speak to them in a stronger, clearer, and more
Like, why
aspirational
are we not
way.
current? This doesn't feel current. This doesn't, we
Exactly.
were walking down an aisle in the
Exactly.
70s.
Yes. And so, that was an example of one that and then, sure enough, we noticed it. And then sure enough, a lot of DTC brands started taking it on. They started doing custom formulations for people. All of a sudden, the aesthetic was
Started
much more
changing.
elevated
Yeah.
and desirable. And, I think that's something that it was very interesting to watch and
Mm-hmm.
see. And I think that was why the light bulb went off when Whitney found herself in the condom aisle. And she was in between pregnancies, so it had been a while since she
Okay,
was
yeah, we've
there.
all been there. What are we doing? Are you going on the mini pill? Are
Exactly.
you going what like not an IUD if you want number 2 or you're trying, it was too invasive, right?
Exactly. It
So
was a
where
big deal to
yeah,
commit to
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So she was looking for, and she's celiac. So I'm a conscious consumer, so I'm always aware of what's going in
yeah,
on around my body. I
yeah,
want to know what the ingredients are. I want to make sure it's safe. I want
yeah.
to and she was shocked. She called me. She's like, when's the last time you were here? This is atrocious. I don't know what I'm looking at. I feel like this is speaking to an era that no longer
Mm,
exists. And not only that, she couldn't find the ingredients because they don't have to be listed on the packaging.
Ooh.
So, and you know, it's
Who's
something
looked ever on the ingredients of a
well, you didn't
case?
think
Yeah,
to,
no, I
right?
know now, yeah.
You know, it really struck us as the same kind of issue where this is more of a communication and design problem
Right.
because, you know, you're speaking to people in a really outdated way with very problematic imagery and language. And on top of that, the product themselves need to be improved on because there's a lot of sort of irritating ingredients, harmful ingredients, and you're not even aware of that, so you can't even, you know, look for the right kind of product for
Totally.
you.
And on top of that, there's no social implications of what that is doing, like, with anything in communication, I find if you give that consumer one more barrier to not to end up in the cart checking out
Yes,
their money in the bank, that is just like one other thing where you don't even naturally get why you would feel yucky. Like you guys are
exactly.
in that space looking, analyzing. A woman that doesn't probably want to wear a condom in the first place,
Totally.
that's there, and then seeing that is just that's a double no, and intuitively you're just like,
Well, that's exactly it.
the disservice.
Imagine being in your teens
Yeah.
and being in that aisle and having to make that choice. You don't know what you're looking at. You can't differentiate one product from the other. You're
The
embarrassed to be
the
carrying this.
ask.
You're embarrassed to ask. You're
Ugh,
embarrassed to be carrying the product, checking out with the product. Depending
yeah.
on where you're from, you could know the person checking you out.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
there's so
yes,
many
yes,
barriers, exactly
yes.
like you said. And so, you know, the problem just screamed at us. And we started doing a little bit more research and we actually discovered that STIs are at an all time
Well, I
high.
was just gonna go, and I'm like, "This is gonna get juicy,
At
not in the way that we want it to," but I'm still no, but,
exactly.
like, it's once again, all these barriers, like and then what are the implications of this? The implications that people
Yeah,
aren't having protected sex, and what's
exactly.
the result of that? The people are now riddled with STDs, and, like, it's not talked about, and it's like and the way they get transferred now, like, these stories are really not great stories. People are very inconsiderate and disrespectful and self-centric, so this is a very big
It is a
problem.
big problem. I mean, first of all, there's so many aspects to it because one is that people think STIs can be treated with antibiotics and it's end of story.
Mm.
Not necessarily true. Some strains of gonorrhea are becoming antibiotic resistant. They require higher and higher
Everybody listen to
doses.
this. Everybody volume up. This is
I don't want
important.
to scare you,
No,
you
but
know, but
education is power.
it is. And some, you know, syphilis is back. I hadn't heard about
Yeah.
syphilis
Feels
since
like
Al
scurvy,
Capone, you
right?
know?
But yes, I feel like, yeah.
And can present as asymptomatic. So you may not genuinely know you have it and be transmitting it.
Fun.
So these are all issues that are real concerns. And, you know, why something like a condom is so important to, you know, particularly we know 15 to 24 is the young demographic that's impacted most by STIs. So this is the demographic that needs to be aware
Right.
and make right choices for themselves.
Right.
So this was once we realized that, we were, you know, this was a no-brainer for
And
us.
okay, so now we know marketing is shit. So we're like double, like, just not aligned with the consumers, young or just not aligned with
Absolutely.
anyone.
Nobody.
It's just yeah, for me, it's so interesting because you were combating not just, sales, but like a
A
stigma.
stigma, a huge
Like, that's a
stigma.
very big onboarding in terms of, like, a mission when it's associated with sales because you have to, like
Absolutely.
that's, like, your ultimate goal in terms of what you guys are talking about, getting in the mindset of how we can also change people to make putting condoms on, like, feel cool and relevant.
And making sexual health something you're proud to
Right,
take on
not
and be
embarrassed about,
exactly,
like, the
exactly.
amount of situations that every girl has been in and, like, let's all be there where it's like, do you want like, they're, pushing for no condom, and you
Yes.
have to be
Yeah.
so strong in that moment and be confident and know yourself to be like, "Nah, nah,
A
no and no,"
hundred
and it's
percent.
not easy because 'cause you're turned on and all the things are happening, and, like, if we're
And it's
just being real, it's
uncomfortable to stop,
uncomfortable.
and it, you know, it feels like this moment of embarrassment where you have to pause and, you know, and kill the moment.
Yeah,
It's all true for
right,
sure. But if it's some, you know, if you change perception about
right.
what that means about you taking charge in that moment for
Mhm.
you allowing yourself, we always say too, to be disinhibited, so like instead of spiraling in that moment of like, what does this mean? What if I take
Let me
this
just run to the
risk?
bathroom and
Exactly.
check
But
myself.
really just
Yeah.
to be like, you know what? Let's go at it. Like, this is amazing. And I don't have to feel worried about it
Yeah.
in this moment. And I don't have to spiral about it
Yeah.
tomorrow either,
Yeah.
And like,
Totally.
that's definitely the
It's
message
like,
we want to get across.
and I think it's just that thinking in advance. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? How can I like prepare for this in advance and
100%.
making that easy for the consumer to do
And,
that. And
I think you bring up a great point too. As women, it's often, consider like there's often this stereotype of a man coming to prepared to the table with a condom, right?
yes,
But really, we want
because
to
it's
shift
going
that
on. No,
too.
because it is.
Yeah.
It's like it's going on you,
Yeah.
bro. So like level up. Come on.
Right.
And like I want to talk about branding for a second because like I love this shit. Like how did you like land like in Jems? Because I feel like it looks like a piece of gum that I just want to
Yeah.
grab and put in my bag that I might want later.
Totally.
Like that's kind of like how I see it. And I just want to understand like how you guys conceptualize the marketing for it. And like stand out still because it was pretty saturated too in that
absolutely.
space.
No, you're right. Everything is hyper designed in this moment. And I know from the branding side of things in our business, it is really hard to stand out, just to distinguish yourself through design, because design is table stakes right now. Everybody can do it.
Yep.
Everything kind of looks amazing.
And AI. It's kind of scary a bit.
With Jems, I think what it was is because we recognized the problem as we felt alienated in this aisle. We didn't feel like we were being spoken to. But we also knew that we weren't necessarily creating a product for just us. In fact, we aren't the target demographic of this product because, again, we are really going after Gen Z.
Right.
So we did focus groups with Gen Z.
Yeah.
Really to get into their mindset, their headspace of what resonates with them, what their values are, what they want, how they align themselves with brands. And that was really the basis for how we made design decisions, communication decisions. I think in terms of like how we came up with, the name, we wanted it to be covetable. We wanted to be like this idea of like grab your gems, something that's ownable, it's uplifting, it's celebratory. The design itself is straightforward. We wanted it to, be transparent. We always have our ingredients front on the box so that you know exactly what's going. We really tried to take a lot of decisions off the table. So in the way you go into Tylenol and see that like cold sinus, cold fever, you get overwhelmed. It's like, this is just your standard condom. You don't need to really worry too much about it's essential ingredients, nothing more. And that's really kind of where we stand there. And then, just really leaning into something fun and celebratory, inviting, warm. We call our green alien green and the blue. And it's almost a funny interaction of, awkwardness. And we love that too, embracing that awkwardness that sometimes sex can be for people. And I think it is that you touched on it, authenticity is so important to a brand. And I think we just try and basically hear our community and reflect back to them what they're looking for, because otherwise, if it was just if I was making the decision based on what I loved the most, it wouldn't resonate.
Right. But that's like, no, and that's like, I feel like branding 101 is to understand that. But where everyone's getting lost in this influencer space and world is that it's all about, it's self-centric again. It's all like, you could have easily looked at this and be like, there is still a demographic of people, like you could have focused on another grouping of people based on, but there's one thing to kind of speak to the audience and there's nothing to listen to your audience and to learn from them. And I think there's a lot of different ways to do market and field research. And a lot of people, I think it just feels like by the time they get to the product, they forgot that spot.
For sure.
And from a design thing, obviously it's like your taste and your stuff, but like it needs to be a product that they're going to want to buy. Right.
Absolutely.
So I love that. I was like really into a lot of the like integration of how you guys also do the marketing and keep current, like the stuff for the Jays. Like I was just cracking up. So they did this Instagram post and he's like, I don't know which player it was like sliding into
Vladdy.
It was Vladdy. Okay, fine. sliding into second or home plate, whatever, but it's a condom. So it was just like the integration of this shit is so good and current. And I feel like you're not taking yourself so seriously. Like, let's just like,
I think it's a combination. So we have incredible team members that also bring it to the table. So, it's great too, because we work with a younger demographic too, like people in our studio that literally will say things or talk about memes that I have no idea about, but then through osmosis, I get to learn about it and that helps us, stay current.
Yeah.
And I think really just working with people that reflect the values of our community, of our consumer, and making sure that we are being as authentic as possible is hugely important to us. We benefit from a team, like from a group of loyalists, I'll call them, that
Yeah.
love our brand and commit to our brand and actually go overboard in delivering for our brand. So, for instance, we have universities email us and they'll say, we have a bunch of free condoms that we give out every
Yeah.
year. Gems always goes first.
Yeah.
So they will find ambassadors on campus to give out gems and to promote the brand, and we'll send them
Amazing.
we have use a condom t-shirts. We just know what makes them tick and what makes them excited about the brand. And if
Okay.
we can help sort of get as much of that into their hands as possible, they're actually doing the legwork for us. It means that Whitney and I don't
Have
have
to
to
go
be
to
there. Yeah,
campus handing out
exactly. Because
condoms.
it's like coming from the source and it's authentic, and they feel differently about handing out gems on campus than they do about handing out
They feel
Trojans,
like,
because
yeah.
nobody feels good about handing out
Right.
Trojans on
Right.
campus,
Right.
you know?
It's like it's a cool gig
Yeah,
that they got.
exactly.
It's
And
like
they have like their t-shirts, they put on little fairy wings and they call themselves condom fairies, and they're on campus doing
oh
our
my
work.
God.
It's like we couldn't ask for a better
Right.
setup. But I think to your point, it's just about connecting to the right people in the right way, and they feel a sense of pride and ownership in a way that, it's the best thing we could ask for.
That's like free marketing.
Yeah.
I used
Yeah.
to do that for different vodka brands. I'd have
Right.
to go literally on the street and be like, come into this bar and get bottle service. And you can have like, that's like literally what we used to get paid for. So that's great.
Yeah.
That
So
it's like such a product that people,
it is. I
well,
mean, and again, listen, I'll say too, it's also a product that we have a harder time sampling in stores, because sampling condoms isn't the same as sampling a cupcake, right?
that is true. But
So we have some barriers
right.
and some,
But that's where
doors that open
But
for
that's where, like,
us.
it's, like, addressing what your business is, how you're handling it, and, like, that
Exactly.
makes sense that I wouldn't, like,
Exactly.
be at Shoppers hanging out to all my friends as they're coming in. But it will definitely be in the aisle. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And we've taken the approach again, and this is kind of like, we're in startup mode, we're nimble. We'd prefer to ask for forgiveness than permission. So even if we can't go in store and sample, sometimes we can be outside in the parking lot giving out, and it's just like
Okay.
workarounds that sort of ensure we can get our product out there. And I think also it does resonate with our audience, because when we're at a bar for an event or
Yeah.
something, people get really like, it's interesting to get a free condom.
Yeah.
It's not expected. And I think people feel good about it. And it becomes something almost that you want to be photographed with.
It's a
It's like a
conversation
total
piece almost.
switch.
Well, because you've
Yeah.
made it something cute. Like, if you
Yeah.
wasn't, then no one would want it. Like, some of the social and some of the stuff that people are posting, it's like you're allowing people to be, like, not graphic, but just be real with the product. Like,
Exactly.
you're one of your lubes, it's like jizzing out the side. And I'm like, wow, they really, was this on set? Or is that the product? I'm like, I can't tell. Maybe that's the point. But I'm like, I'm happy you guys just
Yeah.
like went there. Like,
Yeah.
that it isn't clean. And I think
Yes,
this whole version
exactly.
of like clean, anything clean, branding, perfect, this is just not fitting in
I
that
think that's
box
exactly
anymore.
right.
Like, nobody wants it because nobody can do that.
Yeah.
Like, my whole theory is like all this Instagram stuff, to some way, when we cannot decipher at all what
Right.
is real and what's not
Right.
anymore, it's all going to go to shit.
Yeah.
Also, to create a brand and not to be the brand yourself. You don't have to be the main character at all times. And I love that for you
Yeah.
guys. You
Yeah.
are two different, like, and also the fact, like, I want to talk about this partnership because it's amazing. And people go into business, and I was in business for 10 years, and we had ups and downs, and,
Yeah.
where we landed is where we landed, but it's
Yeah.
not easy.
Yep.
It's not easy. And then to have one business together and then to be like, this is working so well. Like, let's go into another business together. Like, wow, that's some like sister wives shit.
No,
Talk to me a little bit about
it's
this
so true.
wife.
Yeah, my sister wife, she is absolutely my sister. I mean, we have been working together for 15 years
So
now.
nice.
It is so nice. I feel very fortunate. I always call her the partner I didn't know I needed in life. And because work is such a fulfilling part of my life, and I
Mhm.
can't imagine not having it.
Yeah.
And so to have somebody to ride with in that world
So
is
nice.
huge.
Yeah.
We have, at this point, we call it a unibrain. We can finish each other's sentences. She can look at me. I know exactly what she's thinking, and vice versa. And I think what has been like our secret sauce
Mhm.
is that we have different strengths.
Yeah.
I think we recognize each other's strengths quite well and honor each other's strengths. And so there are many scenarios where I will feel more passionate about something, and step up, and she will, you know, recognize that and sort of let that lead. And same with, you know, sometimes she gets an itch, I call it. And, you
Okay.
know, I'm like, okay, we're doing this. I don't know what it means, but we're doing
Right.
it, you know? And
There's
it's
like that internal trust actually that you
exactly.
can just be like, don't see it, don't get it, don't want to. But like that takes a lot because it's
Yeah.
your joint interest, investments, life, passion. So to really have enough courage that the other person's going to live through the joint vision, but
Yes.
do it in their own way and
Yeah.
respect themselves. That's a huge thing that I feel like allows people to really not only prosper in their jobs, but feel true fulfillment.
Yes.
Because it's like in any relationship, if that person can't honor that, if there's competition, if there's
Exactly.
just too much overlapping, even not by just by default of the same skill set, it just doesn't allow that person to really take ownership. And
Totally.
authenticity really requires ownership and letting you kind of lean into yourself,
Exactly.
right?
No, I think that's exactly right. I think there's just a huge amount of trust
Hmm.
that, you know, really just has allowed us to be so much stronger together than, and, you know, we always say if Jems or Whitman Everson didn't exist tomorrow, we would just figure out what was next. I mean, I think it's always just about together putting our heads together and you know,
Amazing.
so we're very, very lucky in
And
that
I don't know
way.
if that's like a rarity, but it is so nice to have that and to know that like this, like a marriage, like it's like
Yeah, it
if
is.
this stage doesn't work out, we'll do something else
No, I
together. Like
know.
you guys are like, I'm like, do you guys have a contract? I'm like a co-hab. No, it's like
Yeah,
it's incredible though. But
yeah.
like when it works and when you get it, it is. It's like when you see a really beautiful couple and they just get it. You know,
Yes.
they want to be together. It's good energy. It's like they're respecting each other's boundaries.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing in life with everything. And I think it comes from having to know yourself and put
Yes.
yourself forward, but then also surrounding your people with like, I always like, we're talking like just with like same type of people,
Yeah.
quality type of people,
Yes.
and having similar work
Same
ethics sometimes. And like,
values.
but some things like just work ethic, that always surface level stuff doesn't always work. You
Yeah.
really have to understand like, oh, we're not going there because she's going to freak out if we walk into that store and the product looks like that. Like
Right.
just things like that,
Right.
having to like, just really understand your teammates and have that sounding board. Like my favorite thing about having a business with someone was like you weren't in it alone. Like there's
Exactly.
so much like with just being an entrepreneur that comes with the risk. And like
Yes.
I walk even on Eglinton, I just every small business, I'm like, this is incredible. Like
Yeah, I
every
know.
person puts something on the
I
line to
know.
open up this retail store, whether it's a bagel shop, whether it's,
Yeah.
you know, anything. It's like, so I really look at anyone that's taking that risk to be amazing. So to share that with someone is like, it just took a lot of the anxiety away, at least for me. I felt like heard,
Absolutely.
I felt supported, I felt that I could do it with someone and it wasn't like this big scary world on your own.
Well, I think you get to ride the highs together and you weather the storms
Yeah.
together, and
Yeah.
that's huge. And also, I will say, you know, in the last 15 years, life happens, right? Like
Yeah.
there's real things that happen in life where if you have somebody that can step up while you need to sort of
Mm,
back away for a moment just to recoup, that's also hugely powerful. I think that we've been able to do that for each other in hard moments,
that's
and
really
I
nice.
can't imagine, you know, a world where I had been doing it on my own
Right.
and didn't have her to, you know, even just support me on the daily where you kind of like check in, you cover all the like so and so threw
No,
up last night, whatever it
you just have
was,
to, you're like,
like, you know,
you're
like
friends you're also friends at the core of it. That
100%,
sounds like it. And like, I
100%.
just think in general, female friendships, female connections, female mentorship, females that like can be real and open up and then build together. It's so
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah.
There's so many running a business like this. People really don't understand like the little minute, I think, details that probably you and your business partner and just your team deal with on a day-to-day basis from like the tape on the packaging,
Yeah,
right? To the
absolutely.
language at the bottom of your signature, to are we doing UPS or are we doing FedEx? But
Yeah.
the rates are changing in a month. Are we flying to this trade show or are we not? Do we have the budget to expand? Do we have the inventory to take on 300 more doors? Like,
Yes.
let's even just talk about
Yeah,
inventory
exactly.
for a second.
Yeah.
Like, managing that is like a whole other beast of its own. And then to take on double the amount
Yeah.
of, so how did you manage that shift, that transition?
So we have been pretty good about so we're lucky because our product has a 5-year shelf life.
Okay,
So,
what's an average like, what would be I don't even know,
I mean, I
like, a
think
product like that?
probably 5 years is
Okay,
standard, but
okay.
it just means I mean, perishable foods, for instance, you're
Oh,
working on
so
a much
right.
shorter shelf life, so you
Yes.
have to plan in a different kind of
Yes,
way. We
yes.
don't have
The
that
for inventory
stressor.
flow, got you, yep.
So that is one of those things that we are able to order and I mean, it's again, everything's it's a balance because the more you order, the more you have to pay for warehousing. So it is a fine balance, but we
Mhm.
make sure we know which stores we're going after, and we know now, like, a few years in, about, like, retail when they set their planograms, and it'll take a year from when you have your first conversation to when you're on shelf. So we're
Right.
able to do a little bit of predicting in terms of we know what an opening order should look like
Right.
and all these
Like, it's
things.
not overnight, but yeah, to be in
It's
all
not
these
overnight.
doors, like, you're now give us, like, some top names, and, I mean, people know most of it, but in Canada, like, you're in all these doors.
Yeah, so we are in Whole Foods, we're in Metro, we're in London Drugs, which is predominantly in the West Coast, but
Mhm.
a really big one out there. We're in now Sobeys, Freshco,
Wow.
Lawton's, Safeway. We're also on well.ca, and we can be ordered
Incredible.
on Amazon, of course. And, soon one of Canada's biggest retailers as well.
I could
So stay
guess, I
tuned
was
for
gonna
that.
say.
And yeah, it's really exciting. And this is definitely once our goal was to really get critical mass in Canada, because then this idea of marketing push, and it's like you can find us
Anywhere. Once you
anywhere.
get in
And
this new door,
that's
which I have a
a
feeling
hundred
my
percent.
pants might lead on to something, but once you get in that door, no, it's like I remember, and this is like so, but it's a numbers game. Like,
Yes.
I was working for a British denim brand called Made in Heaven, MIH jeans, and they brought me on in New York but I had to go around to all these different accounts and sell them jeans. They wanted to get into like every brand. They're tapping into little athleisure, this or that down the road. But I was like, we need multi doors, baby. And at that time, Equinox was like the new gym. And I'm like, we got to get into Equinox. If we can get into 10, 20 doors in New York, then we can go by state. And I was only Northeast, but I was like, so I had a job to sell like high waisted flares to
I love
Equinox.
that.
And I just went in and I'm like, this is what's happening today. You have everyone coming in, they need to buy this. They're already wearing these jeans. Anyway, somehow I did it. But I remember that feeling of getting like a multi door, like whatever the scale is, you just know at that point, it is reassuring. It is reassuring. It is that my brand, my vision has made it to a point where I can be in a major retailer, and that means that most people want to consume this product.
Yes,
That is like a
exactly.
huge win from like that kind of
A
perspective.
hundred
So
percent. And I think, no, the other thing I was going to say too, we have a big presence on campus, but obviously when you're a student, you need to be able to go to your nearest, pharmacy,
totally,
whatever
and
it
just
is. So you
grab it.
have to be within 5 minutes, 10-minute
Totally.
walk. And so
Yeah.
like that's, that for us
Huge.
is the real goal of getting to where we need to get to.
Okay, but I think that this actually is a good segue into just talking about like, well, we talked a lot about colleges, right? Where
Yeah.
this is more pertinent, but sex education is like a huge problem.
Yeah.
And my eldest is 9 and he's starting to go through puberty and I'm
Yeah.
really scared.
Yep.
He's got a lot of attitude and he's coming for me strong. And like,
Yeah.
I'm reading books and I'm trying to understand it, but I feel like what you guys have done conceptually is you made a taboo thing marketable and easy and fun to buy. We need to, I think, have more of that type of conversation about sex and safe sex with children and make it easier and open. And our parents, Jen, like, we're not about that. Those conversations did not happen with us. Like the baby boomers, it wasn't it. They couldn't talk about their own shit. So never mind, were they able to talk about that with us? So we get it. But now we're in a new situation where we aren't those types of parents. We're talking openly about these types of things. And I'm a very open, I don't talk to my kids like kids. Like I try to treat them like, but I'm having a lot of difficulties with this. He's like, Mom, there's like hair on my legs. And I'm like, well, I'm like trying to explain to him that that's why his personality's shifting a bit. He's being
Like
such a dick.
hormones or,
No,
yeah.
but it's just also boys too. Specifically, I have 3 boys. Like that gets missed over a lot with this puberty talk. Like it's just kind of a female centric thing. So I don't know like, if you have any hot takes on this, but I just feel like education and young kids, sex education is so not being catered to. And I feel like you guys should cater to it.
Yeah.
There's something there. I just mean like you're that's not necessarily your demographic, but the way you guys are able to figure out, like, I'm always like the school system, someone needs to update this model, make a fun little snappy video that all of the Toronto school board could pick up and teach kids that are, once again, relevant. This feels like we're talking to, look at these cartoons. Like there's so many ways that we can
I
do
know.
this.
So many engaging ways
Yes.
yeah, I agree. I mean, you're preaching to the choir, first of all. So from the onset, when we started Jems, we knew there were safer sex products. There's also sex education, and the two go hand in hand
Yes.
because that is part of protection 100%. So, we very much set out and have created content on our website with this idea of sort of being an older sibling, not clinical information. Obviously, we're only using scientifically backed information, but
Cool.
keeping it relatable, making it, inviting. We obviously know where this demographic lives. They live
Yeah.
online. So it's about making short, digestible,
Smart.
bite
Right.
size content. And so, we will always, as a brand, set out to support what we're doing with reliable information and education. And I think that's something we aim to grow with over time. I mean, it's a resource issue at this point. We are,
Right.
we don't have enough people power or resources to really flesh that out, but it's definitely always in the back of our mind. That being said, I think there's also an opportunity to really advocate to make some policy changes and
Mm.
to expand, I think, what sex ed looks like. I think
Mhm.
the difficulty that we are aware of is that, even if our policy is where it needs to be, which
Mhm.
in some cases it's not far off, but, it depends province to province in
Okay.
Canada. I mean, I think the US is a different.
Policy as in terms of, like, what are the T's and C's that we're teaching kids about, like,
Exactly.
what is going
Exactly.
on? This
So
is
there
in
has been evolution in
okay.
terms
We're
of,
not living in the
what's included.
80s.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
talking about consent. We're talking about, you know, sexual content on the
Okay,
internet,
that's
which is
important.
important because we
Yeah, to
can't
have
ignore
discernment when
that.
they're online too, like,
Exactly.
that's
We're
good.
talking about gender identity and sexuality, the not just sort of a biological take on
Okay.
sexuality. So I think that some of the policies there, the issue is that it really depends on, is the teacher equipped to
Handle it.
handle this? And so
It's
really
all about
that's
the
what it comes down to. And that's why I think that gap just does need to be filled with brands
yeah,
like
and
Jems that can
media-centric
help, fill those gaps. And maybe there's an
dictate the message.
opportunity. Exactly. And it's something, from, again, we are obviously catering to a demographic 18 and older at this point, but we're not we're not, we know that sex happens younger than that
We're
too.
not
And we're not
naive.
pretending
Yes.
that that's the case. It's obviously harder for us to engage with a high school than it is with a
100 I
university.
just thought of, like, a really good ad for you guys. Can I just tell you? Okay.
Yes.
This is gonna be completely inappropriate. But, okay, so the ad is gonna be, like, just quick grabs, like, very tight image, okay,
Yeah.
of kids in high school passing something off. Like
Yep.
passing
Yeah.
something off, like, really low key, like a drug bag. Have you done this? Like, almost like if you were trying to sneak something to your
Yeah.
friend in the hallway,
Yeah.
a note, a joint, whatever it may be, and at the end, it's like a condom.
Yeah.
Like,
I
something
love
like that,
that.
that's like it's like, not that it's trying to be low key, but it's like, "I got you," and, like, it's like
Yeah.
your friends being, like, supportive, and, like, not everyone's gonna be the comfortable person going to shop and, like, grabbing it, but you have friends, and it's, like, about, like, it's not shameful, but it's like, "Here, I got you." You know what I mean?
Totally.
And it could just be, like, but
Totally.
everyone
I
thinks it's
love
going, that
that.
it's gonna be a
No,
bag of
exactly. And it's a condom. I
yeah,
love that.
and it's
That's
just, like,
so
fun.
good.
Anyways, I, like, love thinking of stuff like this because I agree, when you're on the pulse and you have something that's, a business that's so niche,
Yeah.
it people look being like, "How?" You know? Like, this
Yeah.
is so but being niche, but also having a mass market, like,
Right. Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
being niche, but
Absolutely.
also knowing that this is something that the population is what it
Needs.
is. Everyone is like,
Absolutely.
this is so I think it's really smart, at least for me, a lot of these conversations where I'm talking to people, I'm, like, so highly curious about the approach to why you would go here versus there.
Right.
There's so many good business ideas. Like vitamins. If you would have
Yeah.
gone to vitamins versus sex and condoms, like, yeah, people started doing that and making, but like, not everybody needs vitamins. You
Right.
don't, not everyone has sex.
Everyone has sex. And for us, it's really like there are positive health outcomes to getting this product where we know we can get it
Right.
to. So between Whitney and I, we have 5 kids, and we want the sort of landscape of that aisle to look and feel very different by
Yeah.
the time they get there,
That's
and
cool.
that's our North Star. And we always joke that if we were pushing an eye cream out into the world,
Yeah.
there are days where it's hard, where you would just fold, because at the end of the day, does the world need another eye cream?
Right.
Probably not.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
everyone will be fine.
Yeah,
Whereas
exactly.
this is something we're really motivated to make this change, and for this company to represent a real shift in the industry, because it's going to happen. It's just a matter of
Who and
yeah,
when.
yeah,
It's like a social movement. Like,
yeah.
you're starting a social movement. This is pretty big. I'm part of a revolution right now, Whitney. Wow. Wow. Yasmin and Whitney, this is crazy. I feel like it just, yeah, I love to see just something like this kind of just take this gradual progression. And before people know it, it will be a household brand name and something
Yeah,
that people are just using. And I think a lot of people will like be able to look at that moment and just kind of not understand where all the dots connected. And then this is my favorite part because it's not about just like where you land.
right.
Do you know what I mean? Like with all
Yeah,
the good welling success
yeah,
that comes with that,
yeah,
for you. But I
yeah.
just mean like it's these conversations, like and understanding like, what's happening, being present with the business. I could go this way or that way and
Yes.
enjoying kind of like the growth of it.
I think that's absolutely right, and it's like I have goosebumps because Whitney and I do sometimes take a moment and be like, "This feels really hard right now, but I know we're gonna look back with nostalgia on this moment because there's a grittiness of like our hands are dirty. We're in all facets of the business. We
Mm,
are, from anything to writing copy to sending out sample, we're doing it
it
all.
all.
And it,
Yeah.
it is this like it's hard and it feels taxing, but at the same time, I believe it's also the fun part of, this is what gets us up every day and it's
Right.
fun. And we're not, I don't know, in 40-person meetings all day.
Yeah.
It's
You're
just it's
like
gritty. We're on the ground, we're doing it, and I love it, and I love that this is what my life looks like right now, and I'm very
amazing.
grateful for that. So I don't I'm it's hard and it's sometimes, you get moments of discouragement,
Yeah.
but I really do know that this is what I'm meant to be doing, and
That's
yeah.
really nice. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's just a really kind of beautiful way to end because I think that's like why I like to learn from people that are really living into their purpose. Like to say that like nothing is balanced, first of all, in terms of
Right.
life, like
Right.
that's just all bullshit. But
Exactly.
to be able to wake up, love what you're doing, have an amazing relationship with a business partner that feels so supportive, and also just like help to create this product that is not just gonna, be good for you and success of the business, but also like really help combat a huge problem
Yeah.
that we're dealing with,
Yeah,
That feels
absolutely.
really good. I always think like I'm not here to just talk. A lot of people have money in the bank. A lot of people can just sit and it's not another thing to be constantly considering about how am I going to leave an impact or make this world slightly a better place or how am I going to it's not like everyone has this grand role, but I do think everyone came here to do something. And
Absolutely.
I think to lean into that purpose and to just whatever filling that cup is today, that's great.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
congratulations on like all the success of the brand. I
Thank
can't wait to see
you.
where it lands and where it keeps on growing. And yeah, like I can't wait to give my kids Gems
We've
when they're
got
old
you.
enough.
You let us
But
know.
literally, I am gonna need a lot of help in the conversations. But
Well, we do. We wanna create, a downloadable sort of PDF that is like the talk because that,
that would be
a
helpful.
lot of parents have reached out to us sending their kids to college, and nobody wants to send Trojan or Durex in their,
Yeah.
kit. So it's we obviously Gems is there, and we do wanna have sort of a that what does the talk look like? And
Yeah.
yeah.
The talk, that's cool. There could be a few talks, like talking to a
There's
young
many
kid.
talks.
There's many talks that
Exactly.
we need
Yes.
help with,
Yeah.
the talk about wow, I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I can't wait to see all the things to come. So thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.